Welcome to a short interview conducted by KMTV to understand the position of the civil society human rights advocacy platform of Liberia through its Secretary General Adama Dempster on the establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. Why is it necessary at this time when in fact we as a people have embraced each other and are living in peace and harmony? Adama Dempster provides answers.
The fact that the conversation, the resolution in question, did not come as a surprise because this should be the second resolution. During the 54 legislature sitting under the CDC-led government, similar resolution was introduced. And we were also part of a bipartisan partnership that introduced that technical resolution. And overwhelmingly, over 52% of the then 54 legislature and as a House of Representatives signed and endorsed and called for the establishment of War Crimes Court. But unfortunately, that resolution died. And the speaker then did not prioritize, did not put that technical resolution on the House's floor for passage. So it disappeared. And this is the second on the 55th legislature at the House of Representatives. So when this happened, we thought that having the Speaker of the Parliament, or Speaker of the Legislature being a part of this, it was a milestone, it's historic, and I think it's in a way the right direction that has to do with the establishment of War Crimes Court. And of course, it raised the hope of victims and survivors of the Civil War. So we will say, as a justice campaigner, as a human rights defender, that this is a milestone, historic, and it's in the fight to end impunity in Liberia.
One may ask, what is the significance behind, establishing War and Economic Crimes Court in a country that has moved on?
Now may not be the question, because if you say, why is it important now? It is important at all times. That when crimes are committed, those crimes should be investigated. Those taxed to the crime, those who are listed for committing those crimes allegedly, should be brought to justice. And when they are brought to justice, it serves as a deterrence. What is also important that what is happening at this time, we applaud the House of Representatives, is that they have come into a new government, an era that the government through the president has shown political will for such a resolution, such a process that will lead to accountability is being on the wagon. So now I would say that it allows us to identify and bring those who have been accused, since they are still around, to face the day in court, rather than allowing them to lose their life or they are no more able to appear in court will not be justified. We think now is because it is the right time where the wheel of justice will turn holistically, because if you look around the region, Gambia is on the way of addressing the issue of accountability. Sierra Leone has just concluded after 22 years. You have Central African Republic that is also prosecuting atrocitive crimes. You have Guinea, that is the next door, is also in the process of prosecuting the 2009 stadium massacre perpetrators. So all of this is happening in an era that you don't want Liberia to be left behind. Because if you go back to the threshold of conflict, Liberia have had an outstanding number of people that die as a result of the civil conflict. We're saying over 250,000. That is just not an ordinary number. So we think bringing justice, serving justice for the victims, bringing closure to the Civil War era crimes that were committed in Liberia at this point of time is laudable.
Some 23 years ago, we ended war in Liberia. We could be opening the old wounds.
So except you tell me that our wounds have been healed on the record. So if you can point to one wounds that have been healed on the record, then you give me a reason to answer your questions about opening new wounds or old wounds.
Aren't we living in peace and harmony? We're living as
in peace, so
brothers and sisters.
The silence of the guns is not the final appetite. So not hearing gun sound means that peace is final. There are people who have have suffered as a result of the civil conflict. There are women who were sexually exploited, people who were injured, and up to today they have not seen redress. They have not gone to hospital. They have not had an opportunity for redress. Then we say we open in old wombs. I think wombs have not been healed perpetually. People have just been struggling and working to manage themselves, and then they go on along with the years that have passed and continue to go and live on because there has not been an appetite for our government and our leaders to really prioritize the issues of victims and survivors of the Civil War. What we've done over the time is that we created an opportunity to empower those who perpetrated the crimes. Those who created the victim society are the one who enjoys over the victims and the survivors. So if we say we're opening new wounds, I mean, I wouldn't agree with you because no wound have been healed that is on record that we can say, oh yes, if a war crimes court come today, we will be creating problem. What is important is that we are under obligation to address human rights violations that took place during the Civil War. That we have not done. We have not been able to communicate a process that will lead to genuine healing. What we've done over the time is that we politicize the issues of war crime, issues of conflict. That's what we've done over the time. So I will tell you that until we bring a perpetual closure to the issues of addressing past human rights violations, Liberia is still not being finalized in terms of sustaining the peace.
Are you part of the crafters of the resolution that was recently signed?
The resolution is a hostage resolution. What we've done over the time is that we work with the national legislature, like we work with all sides of government, to encourage them to take a position that will help us achieve the establishment of war crimes court. So what they've done today, I can say to you in an open conversation with you that is laudable. It is highly welcome, and we describe it as being historic and it's in the right direction because it will help us to address the culture of impunity in Liberia. But more importantly, like I said earlier, it's about bringing redress for victims and survivors of the civil conflict. So the resolution itself, it emerged from the house's flow. It's been sponsored by a number of representatives in the Democrat House, and the Speaker of the House at the time, he earlier showed his support for the establishment of war crimes court. So the way in which it started under the new government, the political will that we look for since over 10 years or 15 years ago, we got in that political will in just between the 100 days of this new government. So it is something that we want to build on. It is an action that we want to encourage the president. We want to encourage the Liberian Senate to concur with the hostage resolution that have been passed, with the holistic and the euphoria that is attached to this whole achievement to establish a war crimes court is something that we don't want to lose. This is why we call it on the Liberian Senate to concur with the House, so that the issue of war crimes, economic crimes can be brought to a closure once and for all for Liberia.
You could be crying more than the bereaved.
Well, if you say the bereaved, normally after conflict, the victims and survivors don't speak for themselves. They will either speak through the human rights group.
What have they been telling you?
It is our work. It is our work. The reason why you have the human rights group on the ground is for us to document the atrocities that were committed. That's what we have done. And we document the atrocities. It is our business to also advocate, make policy recommendations for the government to address the issues that have to do with violations. So I would say in plain conversation again that the human rights group are attached to what has to do with good governance. Our work is about promoting governance and ensuring equal opportunity and equal right for everybody. So what happened to the people in the past, and then you have a culture of impunity that continues to permeate, continue to invade our society. These are things that we stand against as human rights defenders. But more besides, when crimes are committed, those who are responsible for the crimes should be brought to justice. Until that, we will stay advocate. And the reason you are bringing them to justice is to provide a framework that they will be able to come and answer the question. Either they were found into committing those crimes or they are innocent. So it's two ways. The war crime court could exonerate a lot of people. It could indict and prosecute a lot of people based on the evidence that will be produced. So it's two ways. It is not a witch hunt. It is not against an individual, but the fact remains here that we fought a war. Liberia went through a bitter civil war, and we took away the life of over 250,000 people. So these people, you cannot call them that they were chicken or they were just some livestock that just lost their life and nothing happened in that. We're talking about human beings. So if we respect human beings, We have to prioritize the life of people. When any one single person lost their life, it should claim the attention of the nation, it should claim the attention of the government, it should claim the attention of everyone within the society. This is why we're saying that accountability for over 250,000 lives is a must. And this is not political, but the reality is that people lost their life and the records are there.
Do we have the support of the international community?
You have full support of the international community. It just ended this week. You had a U.S. war crime ambassador visiting our soil. She is responsible for global criminal justice and the representatives of the U.S. government. They are showing clear support for the establishment of the War Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. You have other international organizations that we work with. They too have shown support for the establishment of War Economic Crimes Court in Liberia. All we need to do is that put the political will into action. The president needs to sign an executive order. The Senate needs to concur with the horses resolution. In the two-way, we will be moving with speed, and I think there's going to be speed of progress than what is being reneging right now at the level of the Senate. So we are looking up to the Senate that this coming week, they will concur with the lower house. We also want the president to march his word, bring his word to life, that he wants a war crimes court. He can issue an executive order. He sent a letter to the UN Secretary General, like what Sierra Leone president did, that called for the establishment of a special court of Sierra Leone. Will be moving from this stage, and of course, the process leading to the framework and the establishment will be just in days or weeks, or the latter could be in a month.
Some are saying this process could be hindered at the level of the Senate, owing to the fact that there are some of those people who have been accused, some of the senators currently serving have been accused of committing atrocities during the war in Liberia.
Well, what I do notice that there are a number of people who are on the list. I know there are new senators who were put on U.S. sanctions, and they are in the Liberian Senate right now. They also are worried about the issue of the economic component. You also got a long-time senator who is also on record for war crimes. You got a new senator who was elected from Nigeria also for war crimes. And as a result of having them in the Liberian Senate, one would say it pose a roadblock for the resolution to go through.
Which is a fact.
What I do know is that we have encouraged and we continue to encourage the Liberians that we cannot continue to glorify perpetrators. We're not continuing to glorify perpetrators and warlords.
What do
the
you mean
country
by
needs
that?
to move forward. That is, the interest of the national interest of the people should not be overshadowed by few people who are seated in the Senate. So you have the majority of the senators who are not tied to war crimes, neither economic crimes, that should take the position along with the House of Representatives, pass a resolution will bring a closure. But if one could say they will sit because of the 3, 4, 5 persons in the Senate that allegedly are tied to some of these crimes and they do not want to take an action for the overall population, then I think it's something that needs to be revisited. But what I do know, of the 30 senators that sit up that Capitol Hill, you have more than 1/3 majority that could take a position that will move Liberia forward, because the president's vision is to address accountability. So if the legislature are going to work with the president, this will be achieved. So the majority of the senators that agree with the president should not renege on concurring with the horses resolution so that the country can move forward.
Finally, are you cognizant of the fact that corruption has its own way of fighting back?
Indeed, in our own society, what we've seen over the time, but I tell you that it does not overshadow the law. You could be corrupt, but when we have a stronger law and a stronger rule of law, corruption will find no place. Corruption will have no place to stand. So until we can respect that the rule of law should speak for all, the rule of law should work for this country, people who are corrupt or those who are perceived to be corrupt will continue to exert themselves. But when the law starts to take its course, I tell you for free, you will not find anything around. And Liberia should not be the only country that will fetter the stage for corruption to remain, a major factor within our country. So having an accountability process that will address issue of economic crimes, war crimes, will set the stage, will redefine Liberia. The narrative will be better than what it has been over the years. So that I think the process that leads to us having a war crimes court is not far from us. We have come too far to have seen what is happening now that we want to ignore. So we want to build on the President's vision for the establishment of a war crimes court. We want to build on the House of Representatives resolution to establish a war crimes court. We want the Senate to concur with the House of Representatives to be able to kickstart and move this process forward.
As local, national, and international voices and efforts combine to prosecute people alleged of committing war crimes and economic sabotage, it is hoped that the culture of impunity will come to an end in Liberia and will serve as deterrent to others. This is a KMTV production. Thanks for watching.